Let's get straight to my next guest, David Buik. He's a financial advisor and markets commentator at Aquis Exchange. Very good morning to you, David.
Morning, Empress. You'll have a heart attack if you carry on like that. I'd love the dialogue, though.
It's
wonderful.
painful. It's just painful, isn't it? Look, let me just talk to you very quickly. British steel faces a disaster, we're told, because the EU is imposing 50% tariffs. We managed to negotiate them down with Donald Trump in America, but it seems that Keir Starmer's big mates in the EU aren't going to help him out when it comes to our exports to Europe.
Doesn't look like it because of the tariffs imposed by the United States on the European Union are greater than the ones that they're imposing on us.
And they're a bigger export market for us as well, aren't they?
I mean, we import, I think, 3.7 million tons worth of steel from the European Union, but we also export 1.9 billion to the European Union from this country, which presumably is for different types of steels, hence the differential. Otherwise, you think, well, that's crazy. But it is going to affect British Steel very badly. I mean, as we know, all their furnaces, whether they be in South Wales or in Scunthorpe or wherever they are under huge financial duress and are hanging in there by a thread.
And we're going to be the ones who end up bailing them out because we cannot allow all our steelworks to collapse. What with, wars approaching, etc.
Well, yes, but I mean, there again, Chris Donald, who's the minister in charge of this, he's got a lot of talking to do. I'm not certain how much experience he's got, but, it's going to be a very, very tough negotiation, and there'll have to be a quid pro quo somewhere else, because if this is implemented, it is very dangerous. And of course, you have to think of the other things like Jaguar Land Rover just got over the most horrendous stoppage through cyber attacks. And also, if you think about it, the other, what I call ancillary industries that support British Steel.
Yeah.
So it's not just a question of, the furnaces and what's produced and what's exported and export. It's all the ancillary businesses.
Yeah, and there are just so many businesses that do. I mean, by the way, Jaguar Land Rover perhaps should have had cybersecurity insurance. Just throwing that out there. It might have been a grown-up thing for them to do rather than worrying about queer people in their adverts. But there we are. Let me talk about what Kemi Badenoch's going to say, because Kemi Badenoch, the Tory leader, she's just arriving at Tory conference. She's getting through security quicker than most people, it would appear. She's giving a big speech due to start around 11:15. She's not often on time, so we'll see whether that happens or not. Apparently, well, I mean, that's there's Kemi time. I mean, that's what people say. But she's going to be announcing today she wants to plug the country's financial black hole using what she calls a new golden economic rule. Some £47 billion in spending cuts. Half of that saving will go off to pay the deficit off, because we're paying a fortune in interest on those debts, but also half of it to boosted growth with things like tax cuts. Do those numbers add up?
Well, I think they're doable. I mean, the one thing is, Julia, is that, what life is going to be like in 4 years' time, which is the earliest possible time that the Tories might get back. And that seems extremely unlikely unless there's some kind of coalition with Reform. The idea is a good idea, but you and I have absolutely no idea what dire straits the economy might be in, or conversely, if there is some improvement. But to actually suggest that over a 5-year period, you're going to make £47 billion worth of desperately needed cuts in public expenditure, that isn't overambitious as far as I'm concerned. And the idea that half of it should be paid, towards the interest payments that we pay on our gargantuan debt of £2.8 trillion is a very good idea as far as I'm concerned. And it will give incentives to business, industry and commerce if they offer tax incentives to the right people, like fintech, any kind of technology. We need to give aspirations and encouragement.
But also, getting rid of that hike on national insurance payments for employing people, which is mad. But as you say, to a certain extent, this is a bit like you come into a windfall, if you could, but paying off part of the mortgage, as opposed to just going on another holiday. I mean, that's the reality, isn't it?
It's a perfect analogy. I think it's a sensible thing to set before conference today. I think it's not too ambitious, but it's not too ridiculous either. So, we need something to smile about, all of us. I mean, I don't care what anybody's political hue or colour is. The fact is, we want success in this country, and we're not getting it. So we need to find some way through the murky outlook. And I like the idea of this sort of thing. And Who knows, maybe Labour might adopt something that is remotely sensible like this in some time during the course of the next 4 years.
They may not.
We can't go on the way we are.
Well, they may not have the choice. We've got that budget coming up in November, haven't we? David Buik, I'm sure we'll talk to you many more times before then. Thank you very much indeed. Really quick word for Sam Armstrong. I promise we'll talk about this more in the next half hour. But I mean, Kemi Badenoch got a big job, not just for her leadership, but also to be an alternative to reform and an alternative to Labour.
Yeah, and in the last few moments, a more in common poll has come out that shows the gap between her and reform widening by 4 points, 33 now for reform in that poll, that they haven't done so well historically. That's the problem she's got.
And I think it was very, very obvious, was it not, with those attacks from Keir Starmer on reform. The reform would go up in the polls and Labour would go down, and that doesn't help the Tories at all.